At 4:39 p.m., I opened an email from the HOA titled Encroachment Notice. According to the board, my new cedar fence had stolen 2 feet of the community's green belt. Remove it in 10 days. Daily fines to follow. I looked out my kitchen window at the fence that lined up perfectly with the old corner pin I'd found under the grass, and I laughed. Because by Saturday, a licensed surveyor would wrap that green belt in fluorescent tape and prove the land they wanted was mine. And for dessert, we'd discover their walking path was the real trespasser. We'd lived here a year. The original fence was tired, leaning like it had opinions, and one windy night it gave up entirely. I pulled a permit, hired a reputable fence company, and told them, "Build on the property line, same height, cedar pickets, no drama." The crew did it in 2 days, straight as a runway. My dog, Scout, approved with a victory lap. 3 days. Later, the letter arrived. Your new fence encroaches approximately 24 inches into the HOA common area. Please relocate to original line within 10 days. Attached, a photo with a red squiggle that looked like someone drew it with a mouse while sneezing. I emailed back politely. We replaced like for like. What measurement shows encroachment? Carla. From the management company responded in beige tone. Board members measured by step. The fence is clearly out. I opened a folder labeled HOA Things I Might Need One Day because I am my father's child. Inside was the plat map from closing, the deed, and a faint memory of the seller showing me an iron pin hidden under turf. I went outside with a hand rake and 5 minutes later, clink. Iron rebar with a little orange cap, exactly where corner B should be. I took photos and emailed the board. Found corner pin at rear. Fence aligns with it. Will verify with Surveyor. Not necessary, they replied. Move the fence. I called a local surveying firm. A man named Walt answered in a voice that sounded like measuring things had paid his mortgage for 30 years. We can do a boundary retracement, he said. We'll pull recorded plats, deeds from your subdivision and the HOA parcel, and set stakes. Also, don't dig anything until we call 8111. Already done, I said. I watch too much. HGTV to die by gas line. Saturday morning, the 811 flags popped up like confetti. Yellow for gas, blue for water, orange for communications, red for electric. Walt arrived with a tripod, a prism pole, and a fluorescent vest that glowed like it had its own opinions. Nice straight fence, he said, squinting. Let's see if it's nice and legal. He set up the total station, took shots on 2 corners, and called out numbers like a bingo game for nerds. His assistant walked the back line with a metal detector and unburied a second rebar pin by the creek. Walt tied neon survey tape around it and nodded. Found the HOA's rear corner, too. As they worked, a cluster of neighbors gathered, led by Diane, the same visor and clipboard figure who'd starred in our other neighborhood dramas. That fence stole common area, she announced, before we'd even said good morning. Walt didn't engage. He just measured, walked, measured, plotted. Finally, he snapped a neon tape from my back corner to my side corner, the line pulling tight with a satisfying little hum. Your fence is on your line, he said, matter of fact. Diane folded her arms. Our path is the boundary. Walt lifted one eyebrow and paced 10 feet toward the community walking path, an asphalt ribbon curving behind our lots. He set the prism on the path's edge, looked through his scope, and checked his tablet. Nope. Your path is 18 inches inside. His parcel for about 42 feet, the cluster murmured. My neighbor Jerry whispered, Do we send an invoice for foot traffic? Diane bristled. That can't be right. We've maintained that path for years. Walt stayed calm. Maintenance isn't ownership. The recorded, plat controls. Your HOA parcel ends here. He pointed to the neon line. The path is over the line. Diane tried a new angle. Those pins move. Walt smiled like a man who had seen it all. They don't. And even if they did, we don't rely on just pins. We use bearings and distances from the recorded plat and tie them to control points. This is the line. He hammered in 2 wooden stakes with bright pink ribbons and wrote, in Sharpie, "Property line, do not disturb." He asked me to sign a flag with the survey number. If anyone pulls these, we will know. Diane took a step toward a stake. Walt said gently, "Ma'am, please don't touch the markers. That's a criminal offense in this state." She stopped mid-step like the ground had whispered, "Lawsuit." Monday morning, Walt emailed me the boundary survey. A neat drawing with bearings, distances, and little boxes labeled "Found Iron Pipe" that made my binder sing. The conclusion, fence online. HOA path encroaching onto my lot by up to 1.5 feet, beginning at station 10+100, ending at 10+42. I forwarded the PDF to the HOA with a polite note. Licensed survey attached. Our fence is on our line. The path encroaches onto our parcel. Please rescind the violation. Happy to discuss a revocable license if you want to keep the path where it is. Revocable license is a magical phrase. It means you can use my land by permission, not by right. If they agreed, it would shut down any future adverse possession claim and put the path on legal borrow time. The reply came from the board's attorney, which is HOA for "We noticed the neon tape." He wrote, "The board disputes the survey and maintains that the fence is out of compliance. Additionally, your suggestion that the HOA is encroaching is unfounded." Walt, who I now loved like a favorite uncle, offered to attend a site meeting. "I'll explain it with tape and math," he said. We set the meeting for Thursday at 5 p.m. It felt like hosting a weather report. They arrived as a little convoy, Diane and 2 board members, the property manager, and the attorney. A few neighbors watched from lawn chairs because apparently this is entertainment now. Walt started with the plat. "Your HOA parcel line runs S89 degree and 45/12 E for 142 feet from this found iron pipe," he said, tapping the metal rebar like it owed him money. "We tied to the monument at the corner and the center line of Creekview Drive. These are fixed control points. The path is north of that line for 42 feet. The attorney tried a different tactic. "Even if the path is over, the fence replaced a prior fence that we believe was inside your line. The new fence should be set back to match the previous location." Walt shook his head. "Property lines don't shift to accommodate an old mistake. A replacement fence can go on the line." "That's what he did." Diane crossed her arms tighter. "Residents complained the greenbelt is narrower now." I gestured to the neon line. "That's because your path was on my land. I didn't widen my yard. Your path was borrowing it." The attorney pivoted. "We'll need our own survey." "Great," I said. "More tape is more truth." They left looking like people who had come for a fight and found a math quiz. 2 weeks later, the HOA held a violation hearing. I brought the binder. Walt submitted a signed and sealed survey. I brought photos of the neon tape and stakes. Jerry brought snacks because Jerry is a giver. The board sat at their folding table in the clubhouse. Diane looked like she'd ironed her visor. The attorney spoke first. "We commissioned our own survey. It confirms the association's parcel. Line is recorded." He paused, glanced at Diane, and then said the important part. "It also confirms the concrete path encroaches onto Mr. Grant's lot by between 12 and 18 inches for a span of approximately 40 feet. Quiet, beautiful, legal, quiet." "So the fence?" I asked. He exhaled. "Is on his line," Diane cut in. "But the look of the fence?" The attorney cleared his throat. "The fence complies." The board went into executive session to discuss the next move. We waited with club coffee that tasted like brown intent. When they returned, the president, newly humble, read, "The board rescinds the violation and all fines regarding the fence at address. The board acknowledges the Pedestrian path encroaches upon the owner's lot as determined by licensed surveys. The board proposes a revocable license agreement allowing the path to remain in place at the owner's discretion until such time as the association relocates the path to within its parcel. The board will reimburse the owner for the cost of the boundary survey. The board will adopt a policy requiring a survey before issuing encroachment notices. The attorney glanced at me, waiting. I said, add that any relocation of the path will be at HOA expense, with restoration of my grass and sprinklers. He nodded. Reasonable. Diane scribbled something, probably nevertheless, and then didn't say it. We signed the revocable license with a clause I asked for. I can revoke it with 30 days' notice, no reason required. That little paragraph is the homeowner's equivalent of a lightsaber in a polite sheath. The HOA's landscapers repainted the path edge to stop at the neon line and installed 2 small, private property markers on my side of the fence, which was a vibe. A month later, the HOA moved the path 18 inches south, into their own parcel, over a weekend. They patched the old asphalt strip on my side with soil and sod, replaced 1 sprinkler head, and paid Walt's invoice. The new acting president stopped by with a handshake and a sincere, "We'll do better." Diane avoided eye contact for a few weeks, then waved once with 2 fingers like a raccoon asking for a truce. And here's the delicious end note. Once the path shifted, the greenbelt actually looked better, more symmetrical. The same neighbors who'd complained about my stolen fence started jogging that stretch like it was brand new. Steps aren't a survey. If someone claims encroachment, ask for the recorded plat, a licensed survey, or both. Anecdotes are not measurements. Find the pins, but trust the math. Corner pins help, but surveyors retrace bearings and distances from recorded documents. That's the gold. Don't touch survey markers. It's illegal in many places. Photograph them instead. Offer solutions that protect you. A revocable license lets an HOA temporarily keep an encroaching feature without giving up your rights. Make policy, not just peace. Require surveys before encroachment fines. It saves everyone time, money, and blood pressure. And always call 811 before you dig. Your fence shouldn't become a submarine. If you like stories where clipboards lose to fluorescent tape and math, hit subscribe, drop a like, and tell me your wildest property line moment in the comments. I'll bring the steaks. You bring the lemonade.